Coming to you straight from the Rio Grande and beyond. Broadcasting to the four corners of the globe. So grab your seat, your coffee, or your sundowner.
Okay, everybody, here we go.
On point, as always. This is Gloves Off. Gloves Off.
So when I was working on Selena, the series for Netflix, to play the role of Abraham Quintanilla, I put on a specific amount of weight, which I was fine doing, but also realizing it could be difficult to get that weight off. I got back into my physical regimen with James Leha, but I was still having trouble with just those last amounts. And that's when I got to meet Arturo from Laredo Medical Weight Loss Clinic. And just the products that he gave me kind of put me over the edge. I feel great about myself.
We're back at you in Gloves Off, and today I have a real story on a research that I did on the Laredo police. Issues that have been going on with the Laredo police for about 2.5 decades, more or less, right? Since like 2008, 2010 to the present. Issues that many of you are going to say, you do not like our police. You hate our Laredo Police Department. No, it's none of that. On the contrary, I'm for safety and I'm for protecting good badges, okay? But today we're talking about the Laredo Police Department. Issues that it's had in the past that makes it look like if it's a cultural of what? Corruption. And I did a research. Here's the research. That's what they titled it. Culture of Corruption. And it extensively goes into police shootings and police officers of Laredo being arrested. And what does that mean to us? There's a lot of things that happen. Listen, I know that people are going to take bits and pieces of this story and misconstrue it and take it in some other format, but it's not that. Listen, I do not like this defund the police nonsense. We need police officers to investigate crimes, to understand where the criminal element is, and to do their job. But at the same time, we have some police officers that are very, very good. Some of them are family of mine. Some of them are ex-students of mine. People that you rely on and good-natured individuals that we have. But once I was told by an FBI agent, he goes, you know how many good badges you have in every department? He goes, you have between 20 and 25%. He goes, you know how many bad badges you have in every department? Between 10 to 15%. And I told him, what about the rest? And he goes, so they're called complacent. They're walking around without a care in the world. They're just doing their job. They could care less what happens. If they see something bad going on, they'll turn the other way. They won't even mention it because they're afraid of what's going to happen to them, retaliation. He goes, that happens throughout. And I get that. And here in Laredo, ever since I was a kid, we've had some very bad badges and we've had some very good police officers. Police officers that would step out of the way to help you. Okay? But at the same time, what has been going on? You know, in the research we went, we'll talk a little bit about the chiefs, you know, because we've had some good chiefs. We have 5 since 2000 to the present. We've had 5 chiefs. We had one. We had Dovalina, Chief Dovalina. Then we had Chief Maldonado. Then we had Chief Gardner. Then we had Chief Trevino. And we had interim chief Landin. And now we have a present chief, Rodriguez. And each one of them has brought something different to the table. But out of all those police chiefs, we've had some bad apples. We had one that was arrested for extortion. And the other one left because he was under investigation. But all in all, if you look at the chiefs that we've had since Tobalina, Maldonado, Garner, Trevino, Landin, and the new chief, which we really can't say anything against because he's changing some issues there that were embedded into the department. In my opinion, the best one was Chief Garner, and then probably Maldonado, and then probably the interim, this new one, and on down the line. But what am I getting at? What I'm getting at is sometimes we have some bad apples that we have to remove before we can do something better. Okay? I do believe in one rotten apple will ruin a barrel. And I think that's what happens throughout all the departments that we encounter. And people say, Paul, what are you getting at? And I go, I'm getting at this. You have good guys and you have bad guys. Every so often there's going to be a conflict. Every so often that conflict is going to escalate. There's going to be a shootout. So how many police shootings have we had since 2010 to the present? And I'll put it down. We had a shooting September 3rd, 2014. Then another one November 18th, 2014. Then May 22nd, 2015. Another one November 9th, 2015. August 30th, 2016. June 2nd, 2017. May 18th, 2018. June 1st, 2018. December 3rd, 2019. And January 12th, 2021. October 22nd, 2021. February 12th, 2024. February 23rd, 2025. And a horrific event that we had in March 15th, 2025. Now we've had 16, here it is right here, 16 officers involved in shootings. There was one time that they shot a poor man 80 times. He was carrying a pellet gun. Imagine that. I don't even know whatever happened to those police officers and anything ever happened to that. But we're going to continue. In the last horrific event, which really opened my mind, and I said to myself, you know what, this has to go out there for people to understand what we're facing. An individual broke a restraining order, went to the house of his ex-girlfriend, killed her, shot the family. The individual's, I believe he's in Webb County Jail. Those are horrific events. But with that in mind, I want you to take note of a Supreme Court case known as the town of Castle Rock versus Gonzales, where police do not have the obligation, the constitutional right, to protect anybody that has a temporary restraining order. That puts things into a different perspective. We'll talk about that later on. Now we continue. And many of you are going to ask, can I get a copy of this? Yes, you can. Send me an email to buitronacademy2012@gmail.com, and I will send you this PDF for you. It's a research like I've done with the other researches that we did with the school to prison pipeline, the water research. We've got several others that are researching in this area for people to understand and better understand what's going on and have a different perspective. And once more, let's go into arrests of police officers, because I believe that's the key. We have a lot of police officers that see a lot of horrific events, and you're supposed to be going to a psychiatrist or get counseling when such events occur. And some departments lacks on that individuality of sending the police officers to get help. and they crack. And things occur, right? But let's look at the number of police officers being arrested since 2010 to the present. Of course, the chief was arrested in 28 for bribes. Then it's not mentioned a date, but it's an assault with an officer. And in March 23rd, 2019, another assault by an officer. March 6th, 2020, another assault by a police officer. April 16th, 2020, domestic violence. Okay. March 15th, 2021, abuse. July 28th, 2021, domestic assault. May 11th, 2022, domestic assault. May 11th, 2022, indecent assault. July 11th, 2022, DWI charges. September 14th, 2022, DWI. April 18th, 2023, voter fraud. April 19th, 2023, voter fraud. April 19th, 2023, voter fraud. August 16th, 2023, theft charges. October 18th, 2023, misconduct. And April 26th, 2024, assault. Now, folks, you might say, where are you getting this stuff from? Where are you getting all your numbers, or where are you getting your information from? It's very simple. When I do these researches, the research itself is done for people to follow. You're actually taken from newspapers, stuff that you can easily find on the internet. Okay? Simple enough for people to go ahead and say, this is where the research comes from. And I have a pair of researchers that do several researches for me periodically. Okay, and they do it on such a note that it's pretty caregiving on the information that is out there. So, I know what you guys are thinking, Paul. You know, the shootouts, that's their job. You know, but they're supposed to protect us. What are you talking about? They're not supposed to protect us. Well, number one, Supreme Court decisions have ruled that differently, and I'll explain that right now. The right to protect yourself is God-given. They cannot remove that. So when the Supreme Court states that they're not obligated in protecting you, it's the truth. You have to be the one that has to learn how to defend themselves and your family. You're the one that has to take those precautions. Most police departments are investigatory, okay? But there's other things to it. But, you know, I'm going to read a little bit more on that. And I want you to pay attention to some of the Supreme Court rulings and other relevant case law. DeShaney versus Winnebago County, 1989. The Supreme Court ruled that the Due Process Clause of the 14th Amendment does not impose a duty on the state to protect individuals from private harm. In this case, a child was severely abused by his father, despite the state being aware of the abuse. The court held that the government is not required to provide protection unless a specific special relationship exists, meaning a person in custody. Now, that horrific event that happened about 2 weeks ago here in Laredo, where the man broke a temporary restraining order and killed a young girl, shot up the family. Well, there was a similar event, and this was already, it's not the responsibility of the police to take care of you. Imagine that. not the responsibility. They're not obligated to. That was proven by the Supreme Court on the Castle Rock versus Gonzales, 2005. The Supreme Court ruled that police do not have a constitutional duty to enforce a restraining order. The case involved a woman who sued the police for failing to act on a restraining order against her estranged husband, who later killed their children, killed 3 young girls. Imagine that, horrific. The court held that there was no entitlement to police enforcement of the order. Really. So now, what do? I know many people here in Laredo that have restraining orders against their ex-boyfriends, a stalker. So the police are not obligated to enforce it? Not obligated to protect you? Okay? Now, here's some other relevant case law that kind of goes along the line. Warren versus the District of Columbia, 1981. A D.C. Court of Appeals case that ruled police owe a duty to the public at large, not to individuals. Okay? The case involved women who were attacked in their homes despite calling the police multiple times. The court ruled that failure to provide police protection does not establish liability. Here's another case. Lozito versus New York City, 2013. A man sued the New York Police Department after an officer allegedly failed to stop an attacker during a subway stabbing. The court ruled that the officer had no legal duty to protect him. Imagine that. They have no legal duty to protect you. So what's going to happen? What happens when you're in the parking lot? Let me tell you the response time. The usual response time for a police officer to get to a place. It's between 3 to 19 minutes. Now, if you're going to write an incident report here in Laredo, this is by experience because I had to deal with incident reports last year. Okay? And my house catching on fire with my neighbors in New Year's who lit up my trees like a Christmas tree with fireworks. We called in the police at 2:30. They arrived here at 6:40. And they still didn't give the individuals a ticket. But the other average time was anywhere between 2.5 hours to 5 hours. So imagine that. It's a lot of time. You know, a boxing round, amateur, is 1 minute. A lot of things happen in 1 minute. Professional rounds are 2 minutes. Tyson was knocking out people in 19 seconds, 27 seconds, 46 seconds. It's a lot of time. Now, people say, "What do you know about safety, Paul? What do you know about security? You've never been in those situations." Listen, when I was younger, I was an executive protection specialist. I worked with many principals. Okay, I've seen that type of security. I understand it. You have to have a cool head. You have to be calm and collective. I've been teaching martial arts for well over 3 decades, not only here in Laredo, Texas, but I have clubs throughout. I've taught police departments outside of the city of Laredo, as well as outside in other countries like Brazil, like France, like Belgium, like Italy. Those are places where I've taught other police departments how to be there. And the main thing you want to teach individuals is be calm and collective. You don't want to be very aggressive. So you have to, so people, when you ask a question or assume that I do not know, I've been there. Never became a peace officer. I just didn't want to. Okay? It's a hard job. I give credit where credit is due. But if the Supreme Court is saying that they don't have an obligation to protect yourself, you should be taking it upon your own obligation to learn how to defend yourself, to be able to protect you, your family, your loved ones, and those around you. Now, with all that said, with the cases that I brought forth, the reality is, unless you're under police custody, that's when they are obligated to protect you. If not, the system doesn't guarantee your safety. So when they themselves come out and say, we're here to protect you, this takes a different turn on things, right? Now, just to get back, because, we always talk about Laredo being the number one in safety, the safest city here and safest city there. It's not because of the police. It's because of the culture that we live here. We're very respectful. We're taught with morals to respect others. We have a very strong family ties, which has raised the bar on us respecting others in the streets. Okay? So once more, I want to thank everybody for watching. Those protecting out there, first responders, you guys are doing a good job. But also for everybody listening to pay close attention to what the Supreme Court has stated. The police does not have an obligation to protect you. So you better start learning. It's number one. Now, if you want the research, send me an email at Buitron Academy 2012@gmail.com. I'm going to see how we can place it up on Facebook, because I think it's very interesting what we have. And if you like, press like, share, comment, ask questions. And until next time, much peace. God bless you. And don't forget that we now have a Patreon channel in which many can also learn how to defend themselves through there. Much peace. See you later.